May have taken me a while to get to this one, but I'm finally getting around to it. What's going on, guys? This is Joshua, aka Future Filmmaker 3940 Reviews, where I talk movies, TV, and music. And if you guys like to talk any of those things, thank you guys so much for watching and coming over to the channel. That is the Epictasticness that I built here. If you guys like this video, please consider hitting that like button. Comment down below what you guys think of this movie that I'm about to be talking about that is highly divisive. And also be sure to be able to share this video with all your friends on social media. Also be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified when I do live streams, when I post new videos, or when I post in my community tab. Otherwise, you're not going to get every single notification for either one of those things. And with that being said, let's get into the movie that I'm going to be reviewing, which is finally my most anticipated movie of last year, and that was Wonder Woman 1984, which was once again directed by Patty Jenkins, written by Patty Jenkins, David Callaham, Geoff Johns, based on the character of Wonder Woman by Marston Moulton, created from DC Comics, and is the sequel to the very well-respected first film. Once again stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Pedro Pascal, Robin Wright, Connie Nielsen, and of course Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. And in this movie we follow Gal Gadot as her return as Diana Prince, and in a new era of wonder. Wonder Woman comes into conflict with the Soviet Union during the Cold War in the 1980s. And finds a formidable foe by the name of Cheetah. But when Cheetah and another foe, Maxwell Lord, comes to the rescue, she will have to use all of her strength and all of her power and everything she knows, as well as the help of a returning character, which we'll get to that, to basically face off against this new formidable foe. Now, Wonder Woman 1984. Let me preface this before I go any further. If you hate Wonder Woman 1984 or was disappointed by it or was let down by it, that is completely fine. You are allowed to form your own opinion, and I will not take that away from you. You are allowed to have an opinion on your own, and I will respect you for that, whichever one you think of it. You are allowed to go to the theater or go on HBO Max or anywhere and watch Wonder Woman 84 and form your own opinion, whether you love it, hate it, somewhere in the middle, or guilty pleasure. My only advice in my comments is to not be a freaking asshole about it, this movie, because at the end of the day, this is just a movie. Well, of course, when it comes to this movie, I was really excited to see what another Wonder Woman movie was going to be like, especially coming off the success of the first one. With the success of Supergirl and with the Wonder Woman movie, both a TV show and a movie combined, which two of the awesome, strongest, and kid you not, hottest DC female characters. That movie proved that you can make a great female superhero movie after so many bad attempts like Catwoman and Elektra and Tank Girl. But with Wonder Woman, which I do own on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital, which this is the Blu-ray copy only here. I have the DVD copy as well, which my mom bought me. I love everything about Wonder Woman 1984. I am fully aware, I love everything about the original Wonder Woman. It told a great story, it had a great character arc for Diana. Gal Gadot was amazing in the role, Chris Chris Pine was fantastic in the role of Steve Trevor. I liked a lot of decisions that were made here, and I think Patty Jenkins did a great job directing it. So I was very excited to see her come on board back for the sequel. And with Gal Gadot as a producer, and with her returning, and with Chris Pine returning, and Connie Nielsen and Robin Wright returning, this looked to be like a pretty exciting sequel. Then I found out it was going to be in the 1980s, and I got even more excited about it. And then we had Pedro Pascal join, who I love in The Mandalorian, and you had Kristen Wiig as Cheetah coming into the mix, and everything sounded fine. But then this movie was originally supposed to come out in 2019, but it got pushed back to 2020 because of Avengers Endgame success, and also because of Dark Phoenix, which, if you ask me, X-Men Dark Phoenix and Wonder Woman 84 should have switched places, because that movie was comes to the original. When it comes to Wonder Woman 1984, I was very optimistic about it, even with the delays and stuff. And then, at first, reactions were pretty positive towards this movie. But now on Twitter, well, back in December on Twitter, this movie has caused a massive uproar. And when I say massive, I do mean massive. Some people are calling this the worst movie ever made.
Shut up!
Some people say it's one of the worst comic book films ever.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Say it's one of the worst DCEU, worse in the DCEU. And I cannot agree any less, because me personally, I love almost everything about Wonder Woman 1984, but there are a few shortcomings. However, this movie is basically the last Jedi of the DC cinematic universe. Some people are for what this movie has to offer, and some people are not for what this movie has to offer, which I understand perfectly both sides. Why some people love it, why some people hate it. I see a bunch of glaring reviews for this movie, positive and negative. And that's one of the reasons why I did not want to put my opinion out right away, because I was afraid of the whole negative backlash. So I decided to wait a little bit and finally give you guys my thoughts on it. And where do I stand? I love it. Is it perfect? No. Is it better than the first one? No. But do I think for what we got is a good sequel? Yeah, I do love what this movie had to offer as far as the sequel. With the positives, of course. First off is Patty Jenkins and her direction and writing once again. Patty Jenkins is a great director. She has directed Monster, which I thought was a pretty good movie. The original Wonder Woman, I thought she did a phenomenal job directing. She also did a miniseries on TNT with Chris Pine, I Am the Night. And she's also doing the Star Wars Rogue Squadrons movie, which I am very hyped up about. And I'm very glad that she came back to direct. It doesn't feel like the same director just suddenly lost her creative juices. It didn't feel like her movie was studio interfered. It just felt like what Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot wanted to do. And Patty Jenkins specifically says she would not come back and do a Wonder Woman sequel if she didn't get the chance to do what she wanted to do, just like she did with the first movie. Because the first movie had a lot riding on it, especially when it comes in terms of DCEU. And I am somebody who loves almost all the movies in DCEU. The only movie I am having difficulty with is Suicide Squad now, because there are a lot more issues that sticks out. But I still enjoy Suicide Squad. But here I think Patty Jenkins, once again, she directs this movie with a lot of energy, a lot of creative vibes, and a lot of more fluent storytelling as she did with the first movie. I could tell that Patty Jenkins, she really wanted to do something different. She didn't want to do the same thing over again. And her direction and execution in this movie is fine. Really good. I really think Patty Jenkins, she did a great job as far as giving Diana more of an arc of her having to learn to move on from the past in order to see her full potential as a superhero. And I also appreciate the fact that she decided that the action was going to take a nosedive back for more character moments. And that's what I very much appreciate about a movie, because people, these movies, they may be superhero movies, but action is nothing compared to a good story. And she chose to take a 2-hour and 31-minute superhero movie, which I will get into my negatives about, and she decided that she wanted to basically just focus more on the main villains, and also focus more on Diana and her arc. I do like the decision that she made to include this movie in the 80s, which I will go into the negative side, that you didn't really have to set it in the 80s, because there was a little bit of 80s, even though I appreciate the 80s aesthetic very much in this movie, which is brilliant, by the way, as far as production design and costume design goes. She could have easily sat this into another time period, and I would have been fine with it. But the fact that she chose not to do the carbon cop obvious, which was either go have it set in World War II, in the Second World War, or just have Diana give up on humanity for 100 years until Batman v Superman, which you be pulling a Dark Knight Rises scenario and causes the movie to get even much more hate than it already has gotten. I was perfectly fine with that. I was perfectly fine with not going back to the World War setting, because a sequel's job is to go in a different direction. And that's what I feel like Patty Jenkins was doing. Writing wise, I think the writing of most of the humor and most of the jokes and the romance between Diana and Steve, and most of the messages that she's trying to convey between her and David Callaham as part of the script, because we'll get to a negative with the writings, I felt was very well done. I thought that Patty Jenkins and David Callaham, for their part of the script, I think they did just as good as they needed to. Messages and themes that she's trying to convey of be careful what you wish for, or it was very clear. It wasn't convoluted. It wasn't like it was boring. I personally understood what Patty Jenkins was going for, because we all have that one desire. We all have that one thing that we desperately want, and we're not going to always get what we want. And if we go through life expecting we can get that, then you won't be able to be truly happy. And I felt that in the writing and direction of the movie, which I gotta say, the themes of this movie I very much appreciate, about moving on and being careful what you wish for. It's rarely you get a superhero movie with that, with themes like that. Sometimes when it comes to most DC movies, because mainly these Marvel DC movies, you would have a big villain just want to destroy half of the world, and then basically the villain wants to take over and be king of something. But it wasn't about any of that when it comes to the two villains. I very much appreciate what she was doing with the two villains, as well as I appreciated with Diana and Steve. And because the first theme and the themes of the movie, like I said, the theme of the first movie I really resonated with a lot, whereas this movie I resonated with the themes here a lot more, because I understood what Patty Jenkins was going for. I'm not saying people didn't understand it. That's not what I'm saying at all, because but the first movie was about being brave enough and still finding love despite the flaws of mankind, whereas this movie was about being brave enough to face the truth and face reality and choose others even when it would be easier to be selfish. And that's why I got out of it. The musical score in this movie by Hans Zimmer, I think, is really good. I love the musical score in this movie. The score is great. Hans Zimmer, he has had a pretty big hit and miss track record with his musical scores, but I love the score for X-Men Dark Phoenix, even though that movie was not a very good movie. I love the music for Dune. I like his music in Batman vs Superman. And I very much appreciate what he was doing here with far musically wise. Now let's get into the acting of Wonder Woman 1984, because I really do love the acting in this movie. Once again, Gal Gadot continues to show why she was the perfect casting choice as a Wonder Woman. Like I said in my first review of the first movie, in BVS, I was one of the few people who was willing to give Gal Gadot a shot, mainly because I liked her in the Fast and Furious movies. But since then, she has had a pretty decent track record with the Wonder Woman movies and BVS and Keeping Up with the Joneses, which I liked, but everyone else didn't. And I can't wait to see her as Cleopatra with her and Patty Jenkins. I can't wait to see her do more work outside of DCU, and I'm actually really excited to see her in Red Notice this year with Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock. And I'm excited to see her later on in Death on Denial, because I'm really interested to see what she's gonna bring there. And I thought she was great in that movie as well. I mean, not great in this movie here. She has to act she acts the same way she does as the first one, just a much more experienced hero. You could tell that she only saves the world people when she is saving the world, wants to. Also, she's basically playing the architecture. She's playing the architecture girl for Diana Prince, and she brought that to her, and she still has the same humor, the same charm, and the same wit as the character. And also, yes, she is attractive, so I am gonna have to give her a tribute, but Gal Gadot, gorgeous. But also, not only just those aside, but she has to have some scenes where she is emotional, because she is still not over the loss of her lover, Steve Trevor. And I thought that was played very well into the movie, and by this point there is no recasting Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot is this character. I can't wait to see what she's going to do with the character in the third movie, as well as in future DCEU appearances, because Gal says she would like to keep playing this character for a long time, for as long as she wants. So I'll be down to see that. Chris Pine was once again great as Steve Trevor. I really liked his performance. It was great seeing him back. He had great chemistry with Gal Gadot once again, as they did in the first movie. But I will have a little negative to say about the way they brought his character back in here. I feel like you could have went in a completely different direction and not brought him back, but I was very happy you did that in this movie. He was one of my favorite things about this movie. Also, Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord. Let's get it out of the way. I am not a fan of the character Maxwell Lord at all. I didn't like him here, which we'll get a hint of one of my niggas, but I'm not even the biggest fan of the portrayal in Supergirl. It was too campy, it's too over the top, and also it applies here. But again, but performance-wise, Pedro Pascal knocks it out of the park. Last year was basically Pedro Pascal's year. He said, I'm basically going to take over 2020 with the movies The Showdown Man. He was great in the new season of The Mandalorian. He was pretty awesome in We Can Be Heroes, which is the sequel to Shark Boy and Lava Girl. And he was really great here. He has some things that he has touch upon to his character as well, as far as wanting more, is him with his situation with him and his son, and then him basically wanting a better life for himself. And I understood most of his motivation onto why he's doing this. It's just that I felt like the way the character was written was, which we'll get to, because I do blame a certain person for that. But performance-wise, Pedro Pascal did a really great job as well. Robin Wright, I thought, for her little flashback scene, I thought she was really good. Also, Connie Nielsen was once again great. Their little flashbacks scene. They're only in the Themyscira flashback, but I have to say that, putting that aside, I gotta say, the performances of those actors are very well done. Now, let's get into the elephant in the room. Kristen Wiig. A lot of people on the internet just freaked out when she was cast as...
Shut up! You know what? Fuck you! You cut me off! Oh yeah, you!
Cheetah. And I have to say, I was one of those few people who had Kristen Wiig back. Kristen Wiig is a great actress. She's known for mainly her comedy roles, and she has done some serious work. Ghostbusters 2016, I hate with a passion.
Give me cancer now, God!
But she was one of the few bright spots I actually didn't mind in the movie. I thought she did a good job in the role that she was required for her. But her as Cheetah, I was really excited to see her because we were getting a villain that we have not seen before from the cartoons live action movie. And while I will say that the Cheetah part of her is a little underutilized, I do think she did great as Cheetah. But as Barbara Minerva, I really liked her. Yes, she was nerdy. Yes, she was basically one of the whole trends I wish superhero movies would stop doing. But she pulled it off very well. She was funny. She was charismatic. She had her very great moments as a villain. And I thought she really pulled off the part of being Cheetah. And I would love to see Kristen Wiig come back as the character of Cheetah, because I don't think they're done with her. Especially by the end of this movie, which they didn't resolve her situation. But Kristen Wiig, I gotta give a round of applause to. And also, she has one of the most beautiful voices in Hollywood. Also, she's great with voice acting. And plus, as a bonus, Kristen Wiig chef's kiss. Of course, everyone else in the movie is great. The young actress who plays Wonder Woman is great. Connie Nielsen was good. Robin Wright was good. Everyone in this cast was very good for the most part. They all did a very solid job. And I thought they all brought their A game. They all did a great job here. Also, I think the visual effects, you could tell there was some practical, not just CGI, but there was some very cool practical effects here as well. The action, for when it's there, I really do love the action. There's not an action scene that is not as good, just as good. There's not a action sequence that is No Man's Land. like in the first movie, but I think the action is really great, and that's what I feel like the movie does. Some people will have a problem with this, and I've seen other reviews of people complaining that this movie doesn't have enough action. But for me personally, I said this before in another review, I will say it again. You don't need to have wall-to-wall action every 5 minutes. Just because they're called superhero movies doesn't mean anything. You have to tell a good story, and you have to have good characters. Because what's the point of having all that action if you ain't gonna have a compelling story or compelling characters to back it up? Right? That's some filmmaking 101 tips for you. But the visual effects here are really good. Cheetah, I've heard some people complain about her look. It is very hard to take a character like Cheetah and adapt her from comics to cartoons to screen. It's not difficult, so they actually, it's not easy to translate well, so when there is a mix of CG and motion capture, I think Cheetah, she looks fine. She looks a hell of a lot better than the Cats characters, any of the characters in Cats did in 2019, for me personally. And I do love Hans Zimmer's score. Hans Zimmer, he is a great composer. I know some people give him shit recently. I love his score for BVS. I love his score. Every time he does a musical score, I like listening to, and I can't wait to listen to his score for Dune, because that's going to be an amazing score, by the way. It's Hans Zimmer. What can you expect? However, I did not like the use of a certain track from Batman vs Superman in this movie, but I understand why it was there. I just didn't really like that, but I will say the score is fine, especially the Themyscira theme. And you do have the Wonder Woman theme isn't in it that much, but it was still a really good thing. And also, I will have to say that some of the risks that this movie takes, I very much appreciate. Like I said before, the risks that they decided to take in this movie, I was very happy with. Choosing to focus on a more character-driven story rather than having wall-to-wall action. The fact that we have villains who are not just, I want to destroy the world, or I want to kill half the universe, shit like that. I like that. I love pretty much almost everything about this movie. However, before I go into my negatives, I do have one little thing that I was mixed on, and that was two actually. One thing I was very mixed about is the whole 80s thing. Now, if you're going to do it in the 80s, I kind of wish they did go full 80s. I understand you're trying to keep it modern and keep it how it is, but you could have added a lot more 80s entertainment factor into that. And I do feel like if they would just push more harder for the 80s and use 80s music more and stuff like that, I think people would have been completely fine with the 80s setting. At least this ain't taking place during World War II, because I don't want to see a carbon copy of the first movie again. I really don't. Or at least this isn't taking place where Diana has given up on humanity entirely, as they mentioned in BVS, because then you'd be putting yourself in the situation with the Dark Knight Rises scenario. And I appreciate Patty Jenkins for not going either one of those routes. And I can't wait to see what she does with the third movie. I can't wait to see how she does with Cleopatra with her and Gal Gadot. And I can't wait to see how she does with Star Wars Rogue Squadrons, because that easily has my attention. And I will also say the second thing I'm the most mixed about is the whole thing with Steve Trevor. Like I said, it was great seeing Chris Pine black, but I felt like the whole explanation could have been done better. He basically, I don't want to spoil it for you, but I will say, if you've seen the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. I don't want to give it away, but I just felt like Well, that was a convenience. You could have easily just had him come back as in his normal body, and that would have been much better. Now, this movie is not perfect, unfortunately, and we're gonna get into my negatives I have with this movie. One negative here, I will have to say, this movie was never boring to me, but I will say, for the 2 hours and 31 minutes, you could have easily taken at least 15 to 10 minutes out. You could have taken out the whole thing with Theo Robs and him going around talking to different people. But that could have easily been taken out and made the movie at least a little bit more smoother paced, because that is the big criticism that I think people are holding viscerally towards this movie, is that the movie is a little too long. But I was never bored. It was just some parts in the middle that I felt were a little slow paced. And also, I too am getting sick of this trend where we have to have a nerdy character. You take a good looking actor or actress, Kristen Wiig, good looking actress, but we have to have it to where every character is basically a nerd, and then when they become evil, they're different, which I'm not complaining when it comes to Cheetah. That never bothered me. It's just, this is a trend I wish they would stop doing here. Also, some of the script is not very well handled, and I'm not blaming Patty Jenkins or David Callaham, because their sections of the script is actually really good. It's better than what people give it credit for, if you ask me, personally. But the one aspect I will not give credit to is Geoff Johns. Because there are some decisions Geoff Johns makes here that really didn't do much for me when it comes to the script. I felt like some of these could have easily been avoided if it was just Patty Jenkins, David Callaham, and the original writer from Wonder Woman. I do easily felt like they could have benefited from that, and they could have done more for that. But either way it goes, that is there. I can live with it, but if I do watch the movie again, I am gonna call it out, because I have watched this movie twice now, and I just gotta tell you, I didn't like some of the decisions Geoff Johns made in the writing process. But my big negative with this movie, Maxwell Lord. I understand he is here, he's the one pulling most of the strings, but Pedro Pascal, his performance is great, but the way he is written is so over the top, so ridiculous, so unbelievably unintentionally lame, that I feel like the movie would benefit better if you would have easily cut him out completely. I'm not saying Pedro Pascal was bad, he was great, but I felt like Cheetah should have had a lot more to do in this movie, because when she's actually Cheetah. But hopefully, like I said, Wonder Woman 3, these are issues you could easily fix with that movie, because there's a lot you can do with Wonder Woman 3. Hell, me personally, Wonder Woman 3 is going to be set in modern day, so that's one wish. Have more Greek mythology would be nice. And also, I will say, Wonder Woman 3 just probably never happened, but I would love to see Diana interact with Clark Kent Superman. Give Henry Cavill something to do. It's not that difficult, Warner Brothers. Superman is the second least dark of the Trinity, and you rarely have used Henry Cavill for any more solo movies, which you need to right that wrong as soon as possible, because Henry Cavill is fucking awesome as Superman, and he deserves another movie, darn it. But the negatives here, I am still even though the negatives do kind of hurt a little bit of my enjoyment. I still very much loved everything about the movie. So, give credit to where credit is due. So in the end, all in all, Wonder Woman 1984, I think this is a great sequel to the first one. Is it better than the first one? No, it's not. But considering the fact that 2020 had a lack of superhero movies, and the only superhero movies we got were Birds of Prey and Bloodshot and the New Mutants, and then this movie, I think this is better than what people's giving credit for, and I think this movie has become a victim of a highly misunderstood film ever since it came out. There are problems for sure. Some of the writing isn't good, some of the pacing could have been trimmed, Cheetah could have been used more, and also I didn't really care for the Arabs thing, that could have been taken out completely, and also you could have taken out Maxwell Lord. But I do think there is a lot more good than bad in this movie. This is a fun, entertaining, whimsical film that I can still very much recommend to you guys. But just know who you are going into this. If you're someone who loved the tone of the first movie, you ain't gonna love the tone of this movie. Or if you are someone who just wants to see more Wonder Woman and you're fine and you're willing to go along for the ride, I would definitely give this recommendation. But everything is almost everything worked for me with this movie. And with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and I am giving Wonder Woman 1984 a better than Vampire Academy. It would have been a seal of approval if you would have taken out some of those negative things, some of the bad things out that I didn't really like, and fixed the whole Steve Trevor thing. But this is still a good movie nonetheless, and I can't wait until this movie comes out on Blu-ray and DVD and digital in April. And I can't wait to see Gal Gadot shine again in the more Wonder Woman, as long as she keeps playing it. And I can't wait to see her in the Snyder cut, which is gonna be entertaining. I definitely loved Wonder Woman 1984, and I'm not ashamed of it. With that being said, that was my thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984. I am very sorry it took me so long to talk about this, but I wanted to wait a little bit until toxicity calmed down a bit. So in the comment section down below, as I said, be civil. What do you think of Wonder Woman 1984? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are you somewhere in the middle? All my social media links are in the description box down below. If you would like to send money to my chime, or you want to send fan mail, you can DM me or email me to do either one of those, and I'll get back to you. And also, if you want to check out my merchandise store, it is right in the description box down below, and also my Amazon wish list is down there too, in case you would like to send something from that wish list. But with that being said, I hope you enjoy my thoughts. You guys keep cool, enjoying the Epictasticness.